Creative Ropecraft, and this is by Stuart E. Grainger. Let me just tell you a quick little story. New Year's Eve, I decided to make a New Year's resolution, and well, two New Year's resolutions. One was to take the dogs on longer and harder walks, and the other one was to produce more videos on knotting or knotting related subjects. So anyway, that was my New Year's resolution. The next day, I climbed up a fairly steep hill, I slipped on ice and I broke my arm. And therefore, I couldn't actually produce any more knots. And I still can't produce any more knots. But what I'm actually doing at the moment is I'm looking into one-handed knots at the moment. Because as you can see, this hand is all right, but the other one is tucked away quite neatly because I broke it. Okay, so anyway, this is another one of my go-to books here. Ashley Book of Knots, always my go-to book, mainly as a reference book. My next favourite book after that is Des Pawson's book on Knotcraft. And then after that, I've got this book. It's old, it's second-hand, and to be honest, with these books, have a look on eBay, Amazon, see if people are selling them off cheap. I mean, for example, this one here, when I actually look at this one here, it belonged at one stage to the Hampshire County Council Library, was withdrawn, and the final cost on that was 50p. Okay, so in other words, a very cheap book. However, having said that, this book is a little gem. It's got loads of knotwork, ropecraft within it, and good illustrations of work that's been done using just knotcraft itself. And so if we go through it here, you can see here more wonderful stuff on knotcraft. Then the contents of it, nearly all books give you cordage characteristics and standard knots. So you'll be doing some basic knots, but then it goes on to stuff like single-stranded fancy knots, plaits and sennets, multi-stranded combination knots, covering and netting, ropecraft design, and practical projects. What more do you want if you're into decorative rope work? I'm very much into decorative rope work, but like I said before, I am gradually being drawn into practical knots as well. But this, I mean, the main reason this is my go-to book is that it's got a section in here on sennets. If I can actually find that, I should have planned this a bit better. Here we go. We've got a few pages on different sennets, whether they be flat sennets, round sennets, and even a section on here on how to make a belt as such. And so if ever I need to create a sennet, I look at this book, look at the design that I want to make, and also depending on the number of leads that I've got for my sennet, and then I can see here how to produce those different sennets. And I can tell that I use this book a lot because when I open it, it usually falls open on the sennet section. However, I'm not saying that that's the only reason I use this book, but it does have a wonderful section on different sennets, whether they be flat, square or round. But the other thing is, it's got excellent tutorials in here onto how to produce the prolong mat, the ocean plate, Turk's heads knots, etc, etc. It's a well-written, well-drawn, beautiful book. Even simple stuff here, how to splice, etc. So it's giving me a combination of not only decorative knots, but practical knots, stopper knots, etc. And so therefore, I mean, a lot of people say to me, yes, they would love the Ashley Book of Knots, but it's expensive. Yes, the Ashley Book of Knots is expensive. Ashley Books of Knots is a brilliant, brilliant book because nearly every single knot in the world is listed in that book. So it's really a good go-to reference book. But for smaller, cheaper stuff, I would go for, okay, Creative Knotcraft by Stuart E. Grainger. Or a more modern version, like I said before, would be Des Pawson's book on Knotcraft. And, you know, basically, just look on eBay, Amazon, and have a look and see if anybody's getting rid of old books on knotting. Go to second-hand shops and look for them. And, you know, every now and again, you will find a little gem that is cheap, and you can then get on and practice some more decorative knots, etc. You know, it's got a whole section here for extended wall and crown, variations of the extended diamond knot. You know, so as a book, it's crammed full of different knots, styles, you know, not just ways of tying knots, but way of producing beautiful works of art within the knotting. Even a whole section here on netting, you know. So it does cover a lot of subjects in a little book like this, you know. And then it's got projects at the end here that you can do. This is for a tray, how to make a tray using a knot edge surround to stop your stuff falling off the tray. And it just really is. Here's a table lamp using looks like wall knots, or it's into crown knots. It says crown knots, but then it's a crown knot is a wall knot upside down, but above it there's a star knot. So you're basically making a table lamp using a table lamp as the frame, and then covering it with some decorative knotting. You know, it allows you to make new things from old. And to be honest, if you're using, I'm a fan of traditional rope, but any form of rope work, if rope work is covering an ugly object, then I think it's just another wonderful thing. It reuses it, and it gives it another lease of life for a very long time. And here's even a door knocker made out of rope. I'm not sure how loud that door knocker would be if it's made out of rope, but there's a whole section here on how to do a door knocker. So this book itself, you know, is a wonderful, wonderful little book for reference. It doesn't have every single knot in the world in it, but that's where actually Book of Knots comes in. But with this little book here, just this one book here, you can make yourself some beautiful decorative rope work. So get out looking, have a look for books, eBay, Amazon, flea markets, car boot sales, anywhere you can find them. Just look out for these books. They are rare in the fact that books like this don't come out every single day, but if you keep searching, you will eventually find yourself some little gems. So this is Creative Ropecraft by Stuart E. Grainger, and as soon as my arm's better, or I've learnt some one-handed knots, I will start producing those. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you think others might benefit from this, it would be great if you could hit the share button, which is just below the video on the YouTube page that you're currently on. If you want to have notifications in the future of new knotting videos that I produce, then just click on the logo that should appear just about there on my screen. Or this screen. Not my screen, your screen, our screen. You know what I mean. I'm really hopeless at this. Okay, so anyway, that's how to go ahead. Click the share button, click the subscribe button, and we'll do some more in the future. Thanks very much for watching.